Don in London, hello. It's October the 4th. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour could be equally addictive around people, places and things. So an addict alcoholic, well, what's the difference? For me, not much of a difference, because whatever the ism is, be it alcohol or drugs or behaviour, they're all linked in some way. And if we have addictive behaviour, it means we can't stop doing something which is harming us. And no matter what we do, we end up doing the same old, and get back into the problem. So my videos really are sharing about what helped me get sober and what keeps me sober on a daily basis. So what helped me get sober? Well, family, friends, communities, if you like, professionals, which included medical people who had an idea about how to get me dry and then how to help me keep sober. And one of the things I know that professionals taught me, those who were very honest about it, they said going twice a week for counselling is not necessarily going to keep you sober. It's going to highlight all the reasons why you want to keep on drinking, because you're not dealing very effectively with the problem. And of course the problem wasn't anything outside me, it was inside me, and it was disappointment at myself for not being good enough, fear of showing up badly, I guess. I learned that in my later life. What would it be like if it shows up badly and you're a failure? And actually I was never a failure. Not in the eyes of other people. Or maybe they were. Well, maybe I was. I don't know. They never told me so. But the feedback was good in my careers. Otherwise I wouldn't have got to where I got to. And then I realised that for 35 years probably I've been doing things which were not really what I wanted to do. And I was extremely disappointed in where I got to. I didn't have the family. I didn't have the children. I didn't have the house. But I had a nice apartment and I had a nice car, and sometimes I even had a butler at work, not at home, because that's what the job provided. A thick plush carpet to walk up and down on, a big oak desk, and original paintings on the wall, all the trappings of so-called success. But inside I was tormented in the end. Having got to the office, having got all the goodies, having got the butler, having got the nice place to live, having got the nice car, I still didn't feel right about myself. And I fell into a really bad depression. Stopped drinking and tried to get help from professionals who were very awkward with it, because I got myself into an anxiety state and really didn't want to be here anymore. So a year or so of not drinking, or longer, I can't remember exactly, followed by a period of more depression, and then some success again, doing the same old. And with drink in hand, success started to happen, because I narrowed down my options back to where I was before, so that people would be happy with me being what I'd always been, reasonably successful at life. But inside something was broken, and I couldn't fix it, and the only way I could deal and cope with life was to start drinking heavily, which became addiction. From dependency, from convivial drinking to dependency, to just simply heavy drinking, not realising exactly where it was headed, into addiction. And I'm alcoholic. So for some time, some years now, I've been sober, one day at a time. And what helps me on a daily basis? Well, everybody pointed me in the right direction. For me, it may not be for you, but for me it turned out to be the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And the reason why AA worked for me, it had a formula of sharing how life can be sober, being with people who are sober, and allowing myself to be myself, to find forgiveness for me, not being the person I thought I ought to be, so that you would like and love me. So a lot of putting on of brave faces, a lot of masking the real me inside, which meant, because I was quite able in doing that I could probably unravel the problems of most people and most organisations if I looked hard and helped them develop new coping strategies and new ways of operating as humans and as organisations. But I don't do that anymore. And the simple reason is I don't know that that was what I was put on this earth to do, is one thing. And secondly, the partitions in my brain which I put in place are not available to me. What I used to do was put a bottle of vodka, in the end, or several, in between me and reality on a daily basis, because I blocked it out. It was just so horrible that I couldn't stand where it got to, which was a place of nothingness, nothing working. So when I had that moment of clarity, which was me saying to myself, I don't know that it can get any worse, I don't know whether I will ever find the answer, but if it can't get any worse, maybe I ought to just try follow what the professionals are saying and then sustain it with a daily program. So professionals helped me get to the answer, or part of the answer, on a daily basis, which was to be connected with the Fellowship of AA. And I never speak for Alcoholics Anonymous. Everybody in the fellowship is the same size, human-sized, and each has a voice, so I cannot speak on behalf of other people. So if I can't speak for the people, I can't speak for AA, but I can share about how it helps me on a daily basis. And that's a big distinction for me, because I don't promote the fellowship, I promote recovery. But if I left fellowship out of the story and how it helps me, I think that would be ego-driven, that I know better than you, and the answer is I don't know better than you. Sobriety is a bit of a lonely occupation unless you have support. And of course the fellowship is full of support, with people just about sober or still drunk, through to people who have been around for 40 or 50 years and stayed sober all that time. Continuous sobriety. And any alcoholic coming into, well, if they were like me, would not believe that new people were a few days, 30, 60, 90 days sober. And then for those who said they were years sober, it was beyond belief. How on earth could you stay away from a drink for so long? Or not even think about it? Or have to think seriously, if I take a drink, would life be better? And for me, as an alcoholic in recovery, the answer is a definite no. So fellowship for me has been bountiful and helps me find my way, just on a daily basis. And on this little card I have here, I wonder if that's one of the lorries. We've had one or two lorries already picking up bottles from the local restaurants which have been cluttering around, and sometimes you hear a lorry go past outside my house. But on this card it has the AA preamble, what we say at the beginning of every meeting, hopefully, and inside the 12 steps of AA, just about see it, and the 12 traditions of AA. So something about the steps, which is what we humans can do to improve our condition of living in the day, and the 12 traditions which work daily as well to hold the fellowship together. Now the most important thing to remember about fellowship is people are as good as they are on the day you meet them. And some people are in good health and very happy, some people are in good health and very unhappy, and some people are just trying to not drink today, and all the spectrum of people in between. So some people feeling harassed by their situation, some people just serene and peaceful, all together in the same room for one day, or 1 hour rather, or 90 minutes depending on the length of the meeting. And we share together, and this is the AA preamble, shared at the beginning of the meeting, and then I'm going to share some daily reflections from our literature. Yeah, I can say our literature, but from the AA literature, and some of my feelings over the years of being sober and what it's like today. So, the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. So there's only that, a desire to stop drinking. That's the entry requirement. You don't have to be sober. And many of us are not sober when we first get to AA. We're still drinking for whatever reason. Doesn't matter. And there are no rules, laws or regulations in AA. If you say you're in, you're in. If you say you're not in, having a look, perfectly acceptable. So nobody can tell you what to do. Absolutely no one can impose their will or their views on you. At the same time, you're going to hear their views, often, every day, about their lives and what's working and what's not working. So we have to work it out for ourselves, how AA is going to help us. There are no dues or fees for AA membership, so it's free. However, we are self-supporting through our own contributions, which means if we have some money to help pay for the immediate situation, rent, tea, coffee and some literature, and a bit extra if we can for administration across the fellowship, then all well and good. But if you haven't got any money, no worries. No worries whatsoever. Yes, there are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Which means you can have every affiliation under the sun, you can have whatever beliefs you believe in, you keep your culture, keep your understanding of life, which probably will change as you get sober, but you don't have to throw everything out which is working for you or could possibly work for you. And nobody can take away anything from you or impose anything on you either. And I don't represent AA, that's the most important thing I can say right now. I'm just one voice in recovery, and what I've learned is what you see is what you get on a daily basis within the fellowship. So you get rough and ready to supremely confident and very polished. I always like rough and ready because it means it's coming from the heart, probably. A polished presentation of life in sobriety can be absolutely unhelpful because it causes resentment and maybe it's not true. Or if it's true, we can doubt it because we doubt that life could be good. We are strange creatures, we people who have to get into recovery. And sometimes we've had a career of drinking as long as mine was 35 years or so, if not longer, of continuous drinking with very few breaks in between because I didn't think I needed any breaks in between. I was completely ignorant of my dependency. And that goes for other behaviours as well, around people, places and things. So I'll go on to that a bit later. There is the primary purpose, so you don't have to be anything but yourself. Nobody can tell you what to do. You're there because you have a desire to stop drinking, even if you hate the fellowship because it represents losing your best friend, which is drink. And our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And inside this, the most important part for me was to see these steps on the wall, the 12 steps. And for me, October is about the 10th step, but there are 9 before it. So in this book, the Daily Reflections, it covers 1 step and 1 tradition a month. Now, the steps are for humans, how to be open, honest and willing to live life as it is. Find the truth, find love, find wisdom on a daily basis. And it's recommended it may be outsiders rather than insiders. That is, finding the truth, love and wisdom of life. Some call that God, but God is a personal issue and is not anybody else's business in the fellowship. So if you believe in God, all well and good. If you're agnostic, atheist or whatever else you may wish to call yourself, that's who you are, that's what you believe in, and that's unshakable and can be your higher power. So, what's my higher power? Well, truth, love and wisdom. The absolute truth of now, which I strive to understand sometimes. How to love, be loved back, and useful. And wisdom, where does it come from? Wisdom of life. I need it from others, often, so I can understand where I may go next. Doesn't mean I'm going to follow somebody into a job, a career, or a belief. It just means I need to find out how to do that for myself. And that is what the steps do for me. So step 1 was powerless over people, places and things, as well as alcohol. And powerless over alcohol first and foremost. And if I were to drink again, life would be unmanageable. But also life would get unmanageable if I tried to control and impose my will and beliefs on other people in places and things which were inappropriate for me, mostly everywhere. So these steps are about how to live my life openly, find and honestly, and be willing to change as and when it's required. So step 1, admitted and accepted powerless over alcohol, and life would be unmanageable again if I started drinking, thinking I could do it my way instead of be one of the players rather than trying to control the whole lot. I'm not God, nor his representative on earth either. What a relief, I can just be a human being. So step 2, came to believe a power greater than me could restore me to sanity. Well, truth, love and wisdom help, and the insanity of doing the old behaviour will just drive me back to drink. Step 3, let go and let good, or let go and let God, and let life in. Learn from life, learn from other people. Step 4, a life story, which I then in step 5 shared with another human being. So it's about clearing up what's driven me to drink, or kept me in ignorance to the point I was dependent and then addicted to it, an alcoholic. The life story helped me do that, and then sharing it with another human being, and if you believe in a higher power, with God as you understand him, or she, or it, and then learning from that what my deficits or my assets and liabilities are. So my liabilities were too much fear, too much having to put on a brave face, too much covering up, and drinking, and sort of releasing Mr. Hyde into the world, the darker side of me, maybe. And then my assets, which were sadly lacking. I had shortcomings galore around faith, courage and confidence. So my liabilities, extremes of fear, putting on a brave face, and ego covering up shame and guilt about inadequacies, whatever they may be. That's my deficits in step 6. And then my assets, developing my courage, faith and confidence, not to extremes of blind faith, courage without foundation, and confidence without any sort of, I suppose, reason for it. Extremes, either way, can be extremely unhelpful. Somewhere in the middle is enough fear, enough of a brave face to just try it out, and enough ego to, I don't know, feel the pain, I guess, through to enough courage, faith and confidence. So on the same day I can tip into negative attitudes and behaviour, or tip forwards into courage, faith and confidence, enough to ask for help. And then in step 8, made a list of amends and be willing to make them, which was quite, it wasn't a complete list when I first did it, because I forgot quite a lot. And then when it came to writing it out and then getting into step 9, where making amends and restitution were required, however it turns out, and the living amend is not drinking and improving, through to direct amends around emotional, spiritual, financial, whatever it happens to be, harm done, and not causing more harm by making the amend, through to where I am now, step 10, which is all about spot check inventories. What's going on today? How am I feeling? Why? And what can I do? So if I run into trouble, which I can, when people upset me because I think I'm doing everything okay just now, and they challenge me, I can get upset. So I always say, hang on a minute, step 10, spot checking what's disturbing me now. Somebody's criticising my behaviour, and the immediate part of me would say, right, let's just analyse them and take them to pieces. And I could do that quite well. And my father, even when I was young, in my late teens, warned me. He said, be careful what you can do. You can strip a person down to their very basic human being and that can hurt them deeply. So I'm very careful about not taking inventory of other people. My spot check inventory is about me, where I am, what am I doing, and why I need find a more peaceful way forwards rather than sometimes confront the unacceptable. It's very easy to take inventory of other people and not realise that we need to take inventory of ourselves. What is going on emotionally in the moment? Why am I feeling this? What can I do? And the answer is change my attitude and behaviour. Walk away from confrontation as much as possible, because it just makes my life difficult. Even if it's justifiable anger that somebody has interfered with what I'm doing, and it's perfectly legal and legitimate. In my case, taking street photos, if you like. Street photography is what I love doing, and I have the ability to do that now because I've had to clear the wreckage of the past and just be me and share about it. I can do that now, but sometimes people say, why are you taking photos? How dare you? And I'm not actually taking photos of them. I'm taking photos of what's going on generally in life, but it can be upsetting, and once or twice in a blue moon somebody says something. And the worst of all is policemen sometimes do this because somebody complains. So the policeman has to fill in a form about who I am, what I am, where I am, why I am, and my telephone number, my website, all the things which they need to ask me, and that form is about a metre long. So I end up with a great big long pink slip. The person shouting outside is trying to wake up my neighbour, and the dog's awake. The dog's called Wobble. Wobble has a very loud voice some of the time. Anyway, it seems a bit quiet. The daily reflections for today, if I can continue with the noise outside, it's all about the daily reflection from this book. One reflection a day, mainly about the step 10 spot inventory. A necessary pruning. We know that the pains of drinking had to come before sobriety, and emotional turmoil before serenity. And that's true, really. There was a lot of pain at the end of my drinking. I couldn't get out of it on my own, and I was stuck in a muddle. And then, as I started to learn more about what it's like just to be sober in the first few weeks and months, and then discover these 12 steps were, for me to find freedom, to be me, was quite a revelation in itself. So drinking had to come before sobriety, and emotional turmoil before serenity. So my feelings were extraordinarily pushed down and suppressed, and when I stopped drinking they came out. So anger beyond reality, frustration beyond reality, fear beyond reality, paranoia, all those sorts of things, because my feelings were coming out and were no longer suppressed. And serenity is now contingent on what I'm doing. So if I'm arguing with somebody, I'm not serene. If I'm judging somebody, I'm not serene. If I am just getting on with life, what is my purpose? To be loved and useful. If I can just be loving towards people and cherish them, because that's the way they respond to me, then life is more serene than in turmoil. And I only get into turmoil when I feel put down by others. But that will happen, because life is like that. Some people will not like what I do, and some people don't want me to do these videos and say there are no rules, laws or regulations in AA, because they want to keep it the way they like it, secret, very much like their lives, because secrecy means they can impose a discipline which doesn't exist within the fellowship. The fellowship is also about open, honest and willing, and unity, service and recovery. But the most important part of that is people talking about themselves requires anonymity at the level of our human contact with other people. So as I don't represent AA ever, never want to, and will not speak on behalf of AA in terms of press, radio and films or anything, I'm just talking about recovery and how it works. And I make these points as I go along because it's important people know I'm not representing you if you're a recovering alcoholic, and I'm not representing you if you're new and trying to get sober. I'm just sharing how it works and the steps and the traditions. And it goes on to say in this daily reflection, I love spending time in my garden, feeding and pruning my beautiful flowers. One day I was busily snipping away. A neighbour stopped by. She commented, "Oh, your plants are so beautiful. It seems such a shame to cut them back." I replied, "I know how you feel, but the excess must be removed so they can grow stronger and healthier." Later I thought that perhaps my plants feel pain, but God and I know it's part of the plan, and I've seen the results. I was quickly reminded of my precious AA program and how we all go through pain. I asked God to prune me when it's time so I can grow. And in a way, I mean, it is a bit like gardening, but depending on how you view gardening, some people like it natural. It's like having hairy legs or whatever. I won't go into that now, but the whole point is a human who has been drinking for a while and hasn't found the way forwards, how to be a human sober, learning about feelings, how they work in the moment of now, and coping with reality without drink, driven mad by drink. To let go of all of that and start again, it was a necessary pruning. And nature does it by itself sometimes in the natural world, where great swathes of land can be burned back by natural events, if you like, and then it all starts again. And if you think about the planet and the stuff on the TV now about the dinosaurs, what we knew 30 years ago about dinosaurs and what we know today is about 10,000 times more accurate, because they can go down to the DNA, they can go down to the bone structure, they can reconstruct in ways with technology and science to show us exactly what these creatures were like. So everything is an evolution, if you like, and the most important thing is evolution is happening today, and I can go to the good of life and find serenity, even if it's hostile and painful, or I can be very negative and work at keeping it negative. So it works if you do a bit of pruning, let go old stuff and start with new stuff. It's like planting seeds. Seeds which germinate slowly, sometimes quickly as well. So we can fill ourselves full of weeds as well in recovery. That is, we feel so empty inside to start with. We start doing odd things and transferring our addictions into other things like sugar, chocolate, coffee, smoking, you name it. The addiction can come out, as they say, sideways. So we may give up our primary addiction and find we've got a whole tranche of other ones, a whole load of other things happening, because the emptiness inside is so unbearable. It's dark, desolate. But I can tell you what happens is the dark and desolate can go away, and you get almost like blue sky. And I often sit in meetings with my eyes closed, and a whole range of colours are flowing through my head, and goodness knows where they're coming from, but they make me feel better. And maybe it's just being in company, rather than the horror, the fear, the blackness, where even the air feels like it's ready to suck us in and destroy us. My thoughts this morning. One of my thoughts is shorten these videos. So for October 4, let me live vicariously through you, experiencing life through sympathetic participation in the experience of another, a vicarious thrill. I'm going to go on before I explain what I mean. The strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think it's Robert Louis Stevenson who wrote it. My old mask gone. That's the vicarious thrill seeker who adopted a different personality when he drank. Mr. Hyde. My old mask gone, and with the help of Step 10, doing spot check inventories on a daily basis, no need for Mr. Hyde today. So the old me could be contentious, challenging, and just downright rambunctious around problems, and make your life difficult just because I could. especially and always because you were doing something wrong at the behest of somebody else. So this thing of living vicariously through you, many people talk about dads and their sons and watching them up and down the football field shouting at whatever is going on. But I tell you, one of the things which is most vicarious at the moment is people feeling the pain of a young girl who has now been acquitted of murder in Italy, and there's other stuff going on with Michael Jackson around how do we feel things vicariously. So the media people used to report the news. Now they're making it by showing their feelings and emotions around what is happening, and that's living vicariously, using the emotion of the moment to feel something different, to take ourselves out of ourselves, if you like. So if we can look at the TV and watching a play or watching the news, we can live vicariously by taking on the emotions of what we see in front of us, rather than actually saying, hang on a minute, those are those feelings about their situation. My situation is quite different. Maybe I can be helpful to them if it's a charity thing by contributing money or joining in some way to give service. But to sit there and absorb emotion, which is what I used to do. I used to sit there and cry at the news because the news was bad and sad. But if I was in my right mind, I could say, what can I do about that? What am I able to do to influence or impact that? And often the answer was the same as in recovery: nothing. It's not about me changing the world, it's about me changing me and my attitudes to what is going on. And sometimes I can participate and have a voice around it, if it's to be heard, I don't know. But when I start to live my life through others, or through others' experiences, then I'm just soaking it up and not changing. So the steps, why are they called steps? Well, because we need to change. So the whole process of the steps is changing me on a daily basis, especially step 10. So yes, spot check inventories, love them and hate them. It's what's going on inside me I need to be concerned about in the moment. When I take my inventory of me and not yours, and what your faults are, serenity is possible in the heated or tranquil moment of now. And it is progress and never perfect for me. In previous years, it is so easy to look at other people's behaviour. Our 12-step toolkit, Let Loose, undermines people, places and things, because it's so good at helping us find out what our problems are. We can often see the problems of other people, and telling them about them is no help. Unless they ask us, or we ask permission. And even that's dangerous. We might actually consider, what is my role in this situation? Steps to improve our outlook and our attitudes and behaviour. As we see our part in living, we learn to forgive and love ourselves, and then forgive and love. Even the unacceptable? Well, that is a question today. I can't answer it because it hasn't happened yet. And as I said it in the AA reading about pruning, a necessary pruning, ? Step 10, all about our attitudes and behaviour, our reactions and responses to life today. My step 6 defects, judging and blaming others, based on fear, a brave face, and ego to cover up my inadequacies, shame and guilt about not being good enough. Step 7 is all about courage, faith and confidence to look at my part in life. And I can be at 6s and 7s, step 6 to step 7. But step 10 helps me always in the moment of now. So if I'm getting a negative day, because it is an emotional, spiritual program, if I feel bad, my reactions and thinking are probably going to be bad as well. But if I can just get enough courage, faith and confidence to keep on going, then I have a better outlook, better idea of what I may do today. It doesn't always work, because life's like that. And sometimes we go to bed with a thick head from thinking too much about just how hurtful all that was, painful. Anyway, refreshed and reminded of times past, times now, and the promise of facing life on life's terms, because I have fellowship. A meeting, lest we forget, a great meeting for me and my fellows, seemed to be okay. Some maybe have been upbeat, some down, some indifferent, some with something to say. I could say I was there and I was not alone. As to what else goes on, it is anonymous. It was good to see many friends, and got me wondering about other friends. As always, we turn our attention to newcomers, because they are the most important people coming into fellowship, and we work in unity service and recovery to try and offer help. But even offering help can be overwhelming for a newcomer who runs the opposite way, like I did. Even if they don't seem too good to know, we are better for knowing them. And sometimes people come in stinky off the streets and very... I got there somehow, and it's bloody awful. But it's not about judging people, it's about how can we help you. Even if they don't seem too good to know, we are better for knowing them. AA, all about us and not me. Steps, and always the steps, bring us back to earth. We are humans where all humans dwell. The traditions hold the fellowship together, unity, service and recovery. The steps to develop our spiritual progress. And our spiritual progress, as one senior cleric in one particular religious order said, so it's only one view there again, when asked what is spiritual, he said, well, it's the ability to cope with real life, because that's where it's all happening. So the fellowship, emotional, spiritual, knowing our feelings, how am I feeling, and able to cope with the moment of now. So if our feelings fit the moment of now, and we don't have a headache full of stuff from the past exploding into a situation that we're living, we have a chance to find out what to do next. And if we don't know, make a telephone call, find one of those 100 numbers who happens to answer, because 1 in 100 maybe will answer, or 1 in 10 may answer a telephone call. We are human after all, need sleep and have to work, and do all sorts of other things, medically as well, if you're in my situation. In email, some discussion of spiritual matters made me realise that evolution is key to us humans, wherever we are. The spiritual journey enhanced by our ability to live in reality. As some believe, we have choices in life. We can choose before we get there. It is also subject to evolution. We are evolving whatever our state of being may be. We're changing daily. Otherwise, we'd still be swinging from the trees. And it does take, sometimes it takes generations to work things through. As we know from grudges which happen between countries and humans. We can be at war with our neighbours and people in our family, and that even now we may not know why it all happened. But how do we stop it happening? Well, I tell you what, the 12 steps do help keep us on track, sober and able to consider our options to engage, be included, love, even when the behaviour is terrible. Some believe we have choices in life before we get there. Yes, and it's also subject to the state of where we are now. We are evolving. Subject to the choices we have. Oops, something happened there. I hope you're still there. And based on reality. And reality is where we are. Here and hereafter is my guess. I don't know anything for sure except what's happening now. After last night I was upbeat, and then the inevitable drag this morning, counterbalanced by a ride out on my electric bike to see the world. Life is very painful. Walking and cycling unaided is not possible due to ongoing injuries. I had what is known as a comminuted fracture, which just means a shattered bone in my foot, and I couldn't have an operation or pinning because I have type 1 diabetes, which means that the infection risk was very high in that hospital in that year, which was last year. It started in February, and still in October it hadn't healed. It had gone rubbery. Very slow process for me, even when I took my vitamins and extra calcium. So we have to go with the flow, and last year I was immobilised and pretty much housebound a lot of the time, and I learned the difference between isolation, which is not a good thing, and solitude, which I found to be exceptionally wonderful. It was nice to be able to sit still in my flat, even with noises going on behind me. So, colourful and busy, seasons are changing, and as daylight gets shorter, as it is now, and we've just had a heat wave, fellowship meetings help keep me from the dark, and it's getting dark at 6:30 in the evening now. Easy does it for me. Good things have been happening. At the same time, a deep sadness as life is changing as it may. And the deep sadness for me was losing close connection with a lovely lady that I was involved with. And we hadn't been really involved as a couple for quite some time, because we both recognised we were going in different directions. And I guess for me the hard thing was, I'm very much about how to live in the moment using the 12 steps. But when we have an idea of where we want to get to, and still enough career time available, putting our stake out in a very distant possibility and living there in the possibility rather than living in the moment meant that I wasn't actually living with or being with someone who I could connect with. If a person's out in the future and you're in the present day, and their future is quite different in a different direction and has no impact ultimately on my life, this letting go process is difficult. But we do it, and sometimes it's very, very painful, and it hurts because we don't want to be a failure, and it hurts if we carry on trying to do the same old without expecting the same result. So for me, I find it hard to let go, especially when I love people dearly, but their behaviour is not in the present moment. And a lot of people are like that, and it's not their fault. They have a desire, an objective. But if you can't see where the first steps are today in how to get there, or there's a blockage which is insurmountable because we've done something in the past which will not allow us to do that career or that opportunity, then we need to let it go, because we're just wasting our precious time now thinking about something which is not going to happen unless we put those action steps in now. I won't go there now. Time. We mature in different ways, different directions, but to be able to love and be loved in all respects in recovery is absolutely possible and wonderful. And we won't necessarily get it right the first time or first few times. It's like being ready to be mature, and you're ready to engage in life with a partner, have a boyfriend, have a girlfriend, whatever way it works for you. And then you find that, well, hang on a minute, this person isn't quite what I thought they were, the person behind the mask. And so it stops, and then we find somebody else and somebody else. Or, as luck would have it, some people find it first time, love at first sight, and onward. Or you can still be deeply in love with people who've gone, and we're still working out how we cherish the memory, and if they ever came back near to us, what would we do? Do we go back in for a bath of the same old acid? Or do we go back in with an open heart, cherishing, and know it may be just short-lived and a close encounter, not of any other kind, just a recognition of love, all well and good. Step 10, in the moment of now. Spot check inventories in the moment of now, all about maintaining our serenity if it can be, and dealing with our madness when it happens. And it's not about judging other people. The Serenity Prayer, which I share at the end of these videos, is on this card as well, on the back. And the word God is as you understand it, and high power or good conscience if that's where you are. So there is no grade of getting to God. There is no appraisal of I'm better off with God in my life. I know I'm better off with truth, which I get from everyone. How to love and be loved. Love, truth, love and wisdom. Wisdom coming from others. So I'm better for that. And there is no competition to be the best believer or to have the best way forwards in religious terms. Whatever works for you, work it. Like a diesel car with a choke. So the Serenity Prayer is, in shorthand, can do what I can change in me, my attitudes and behaviour. What I cannot do, I cannot change the world and people's attitudes and behaviour out there. Can do, change me, can't do, change you. I learn the wisdom every single day around these things, and the step 10 helps me when I'm getting into problems. And it also helps me when I'm so enthusiastic that I've forgotten I need to find out, well, hang on a minute, if I want to be an astronaut and I'm 55 years old, what's the likelihood that I can make it there? The answer is, until they can replace my body parts and my internal organs, going out into outer space as an astronaut is not really on the cards. And that Serenity Prayer helps me bring myself, I might have my head in the clouds and my feet on the ground. That's just the way I am. And I can always see rainbows these days, which is quite strange. Before, I would turn away from them and not even look at them. The beauty of life is all around us, if only we can see it. So, head down with a cap on, not good. No cap on, head up, eyes wide open. Probably won't get run down by a bus today, with any luck, touch wood. Don't tempt Providence here. So to God, or in good conscience, as is right for you, the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Always for me, in the moment of now, and just for today.